Welcome to Verses and Visions Creative Conversations, where creativity and purpose meet to inspire and uplift. I'm Cassidy Beck, your host, here to explore the stories of artists, dreamers, and changemakers who are walking in faith and using their unique gifts to make a difference. Each episode is a reminder that your vision, paired with God's purpose, can transform the world around you. Let's get started and spark some inspiration together. Hey friends, before we jump into today's conversation, I've been thinking about those small, meaningful things that bring us together. For me, that's often sharing a bottle from my family's premium soda company, Soda Beers. Whether it's crisp ginger beer, smooth butterscotch beer, classic root beer, original apple beer, or apple beer 5, our low-calorie twist, each flavor is a small little reminder of home and of the simple joys. Okay, now let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, Verses and Visions Creative Conversations. I am so thrilled and delighted to be welcoming Emily Pack today. I have had a little bit of an introduction to Emily. She's fabulous. Her music on Instagram is so entertaining, it's so funny, and it's so relatable. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you for having me. I feel honored to be here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to our conversation about Emily. She's a musician and a producer who used to be very happy behind the scenes until her comedy songs about the LDS culture went viral in 2025. Her song Kite Tail won the 2024 LDS Spark Award for Original Religious Music, and she also earned a Zoning Award with her original piece, Princess Pegasus. She studied percussion at Utah State University on a music scholarship, but quickly got swept into comedy, garage bands, and music production. She's also a wife, a mother of 3 amazing kids, and a maker of notoriously bad cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
Today, we'll explore her journey of creating music after her kids go to bed, weaving faith into song, and finding strength in the unknown. So, my first question for you, Emily, what's a song, a scripture, or a quote that's inspiring you right now?
For me, the scripture that runs through my mind constantly is 3 Nephi 11:29. Its contention is of the devil. It just rings so true to me, and I don't want anything to do with the contention. Being on social media, it's really popular to get people to agree with you, to rile up the people that agree with you, or to rile up the people that don't agree with you, and to just foster that contention. And that's a big path of success in comedy itself, to just laugh at things people hate in a hateful way. I just want nothing to do with either of those. So what I've tried to do is stay away from contention, even if I think of something that's funny, but potentially contentious. My trash can is full of things that are funny, but would make people upset. For me, I don't want any part of contention. I just want everyone to have a good time. I love that my songs are being laughed at and shared by the whole spectrum of people who are really active in the church and the people who have really left the church and like even hate the church. Everyone can laugh at these things and feel comfortable. That's a miracle to me. I've created a space where people can feel okay to laugh, talking about the thing that's the most contentious sometimes in their life. I don't want to mess that up. And fingers crossed, I can go for a long time without messing that up, and I can keep this non-contentious space for people to laugh at and with the culture. Yeah.
I like that so much. There's so many things I really like about that. I think one of the things that speaks to me about it is that you're not taking yourself so seriously that we can't laugh a little bit. And I think that's very important. I guess one question that I'm asking myself is, what do you feel like would be the opposite of contention?
Peacemaking isn't just ignoring what's going on. People think that peacemaking is like, they're wrong and I'm right and that's okay. I'll just walk away from them. Maybe that's step one of peacemaking. But ultimate peacemaking is gathering together. No, all of us come together. Let's talk about it. Peacemaking is so active and really hard. It's a challenge to make peace with people that you don't like and with people that think you're stupid. There's this Bob Goff book that a friend Carrie Yost gave me. Bob Goff is a pastor and he writes books. He's amazing. And he was talking about peacemaking, and his first chapter is about peacemaking. For me, that was not the first step I'd go to, but it's true. When we're afraid of people, then we don't want to make peace with them. We want to put up our boundaries, and those are good. It's good to have boundaries. But I think peacemaking is not being afraid of the people who disagree with you and creating a comfortable enough space that you can laugh and talk about the thing that hurts. My family is, my brother's Catholic, one of my brothers is LDS, I'm LDS, my parents are LDS, and then my sister and her husband are wonderful people and hate the church. They don't usually want to joke or talk about anything with the church. So I keep them as an audience in my head. Okay, what would work Sunday family dinner at the table? What's a joke that they would actually think is funny? And it's cool to talk about the things that nobody disagrees with. Like, we can all agree pizza tastes good. But if you only talk with your enemies about how pizza tastes good, then you're never going to make peace. Does that, maybe that's like too crazy to say. But if we talk about the nitty gritty, let's talk about the thing we actually disagree with, and let's start with the common ground. I have a friend, and she did not want to go to a funeral of a friend because it was in a LDS church building. She was like, I can't go in an LDS church building. It's too triggering. I've endured so much trauma in buildings like that. I can't go. And it was so sad to me to miss out on the funeral of a friend. And we were just talking about how funny Mormon funerals are. This was like in January. And before I put out a song about funeral potatoes, but this kind of spurred it. And I was like, oh, Mormon funerals are so funny. Funeral potatoes and the ham, and we're always going to hear God be with you till you meet again. It's like the saddest hymn. And we're just talking about the church culture things. And that kind of opened the door for her to be okay with stepping into a church building. I'm not trying to get her into the baptismal font, but I'm just trying to do her family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like the idea of unity being the opposite of contention and building common ground. And I think laughter is a great common ground, and it's one that you've really tapped into. I feel the one that I found the most funny was the raccoons, your
Oh,
raccoon
God.
song. I thought that was so
Yeah.
funny. Tell us about the
Yeah.
raccoon song.
I posted a song around Mother's Day about sleeping in the mother's lounge, like taking naps in there. And somebody commented on my page and she goes, some raccoons fell through the ceiling of our mother's lounge. And that's all she said. I commented back, tell me more. Can I talk to you? Can I interview you? And she just didn't respond. I sent another comment like, no, I really want to know more. And she just said, so I didn't get more information. But then somebody else commented and they said, it was in our ward in South Carolina. Our buildings are falling apart. And then more people were commenting like, our building is falling apart. In California, our buildings are falling apart. In Idaho, our buildings are falling apart. Even in Mesa, I felt like our buildings were falling apart before I heard more stories about people having it way worse. And then, of course, all the people in Utah are like, our buildings are fine. But yeah, so then I just thought it'd just be funny. It's such a funny, bizarre phrase, especially where people feel like they don't like church because they feel like it's too buttoned up or everyone's very serious, or maybe people said some too serious things to them in the church. I feel like it's very cathartic. It's very cathartic to laugh about things in church. So we just posted the lyrics simple. Raccoons fell through the mother's lounge over and over again. That's all you need to say. Someone reached out and they're like, this is actually my ward. It happened in Sacramento, and there was more than three up in
Wow.
there. People talking about possums falling through, tons of mice, a lot of mice stories. We in Arizona, we some scorpions and lizards. There's a
Wow.
lizard that on the window of my daughter's classroom, Sunday school. When I drop her off, it's like the lizard knows she's there and it's up on the window. Isn't that fun?
That's
It's like her
fun.
friend.
That's
She's
awesome.
like, that's
Yeah.
my lizard. That's my pet. Yeah. She called it one of her pets, like in a school project. She was like, yeah, we have our dog, we have our rabbits, and our lizard in the church building. Yeah, I think it's so fun just to, we don't have to pretend like everything's perfect. Sometimes the buildings are falling apart. I think that's something I love about the LDS culture is how scrappy we are and how good we are as people of immediately turning lemons into lemonade. Or just like everyone wants to be really hunky dory. And so when something happens like raccoons falling through the ceiling of the mother's lounge, it's like, okay, let's just block off the building and get this fixed. It's not like we need to protest about these buildings falling apart. There's always a hunky dory, happy building Zion approach to catastrophe, which I appreciate. There's a time to protest, obviously, but I like that we always just find a way to make fun of whatever's going on. And maybe it's because we're so bored in church. Like maybe it's because our church is so boring. They were like, what's something really funny that would happen? And so we just laugh at anything that happens. Oh, I have a question for you. Do you think that general authorities have really earned the laughs they get during conference? Or do you think people are
Oh.
mostly laughing because it's conference? Are they
Hmm.
actually, because it's the hardest I've laughed sometimes. Like conference is like the hardest I'll laugh all year. But did they earn those laughs?
Yeah.
They're pretty funny though.
They are pretty funny. I feel like it depends on the individual. I think some people legitimately find it funny, but I think that especially in the conference center, there might be some that are like, all right, let's give it to them.
Ah, if I laugh, I'll stay awake for 30
Yeah.
minutes.
You studied percussion and jazz music, but now you've chosen the ukulele. What made that feel right for you?
When I was 5 years old, my parents bought me a ukulele because I wanted a guitar and they said my hands were too small. So they got me a ukulele instead. And I still tell myself that as an adult. I'm like, I can't learn guitar. My hands are too small. But it's just a lot harder. Anyway, ukulele has always been my silly songs thing. I took music really seriously, probably too seriously in high school and college. And ukulele was always separate from academic music where I could just be myself. And yeah, I've always just loved writing songs. I'd write songs for projects in school, or I wrote a song about moles, really good for anatomy class. I think they still use it in the classroom. Oh, the Utah Shakespeare Festival, do you ever go?
Been to it before.
They have a high school Utah Shakespeare competition. I was in drama just because all my friends were in drama. I'm not a good actor because I don't know how I look at any time. I was just in there because all my friends were in there. My theater teacher said that we have to submit something to the competition, a monologue, which would be like way too much memorizing I didn't want to do. Or you could be in the scene where I might have to kiss this boy, Ben Papilla. I didn't want to kiss him because it would be my first kiss and it's too special. And then he said, there's this thing called the madrigals, but that's for choir kids. And I was like, oh, what is that? He goes, I think it's something to do with music. And I just said, oh, I'll just write a silly song about Shakespeare stuff with my ukulele, which was not allowed. It was for choirs, but my theater teacher, I think, was just always trying to find a place for me. So he's like, yeah, just go write a funny song with your ukulele. And I wrote a song about Romeo and Juliet, and it was funny. I submitted to the contest and I went and performed, and the judges were like, hey, that's cool, but this is for choir kids. You're not supposed to be here. But they gave me second place anyway.
That's
And
really
so
cool.
I've always just been like writing like dumb songs about ukulele wherever I go. Then I went to college and I remember thinking, should I take my ukulele to college or is it going to be too distracting? I did leave my ukulele home, but then when I came home for Christmas, I brought it back up with me because I was like, wow, college is really hard. I think I want the one thing that brings me joy. And so I started doing just writing some songs. I wrote like a musical about Pizza Planet. This is the second time I'm talking about pizza on this podcast. But it's like a Pizza Planet. And it just brought me so much joy. And I was writing songs with a band, and I won a songwriting competition with a song I wrote for my band. And I was doing a lot of improv comedy and musical improv. And I was just having so much fun with it. And I was really becoming disenamored with school. And I really struggled with school because I just couldn't focus because there was a million things I wanted to do. So I went as a percussion major, and then they started having me play piano in the symphony because they needed a pianist that would have like a background as a band kid that would like actually watch the conductor. Because when you're a band kid, you have to watch the conductor, but too scared to not watch the conductor. And then I was in jazz bands and jazz combo. So my major was percussion, but I was not doing any percussion anymore. I was just playing in bands and writing songs with my ukulele. Then I started getting little jobs, people hiring me to write songs. And then I got sick. I had thyroid cancer and wanted to come home. So I moved my husband back down to Mesa, where we are now, where I could get good health care and knock that thing out of the park. And then I've been down here and I started taking on more. The city of Mesa does a Christmas show each year, and so I took some of their stories and turned them into a musical, which is super fun. I write people's jingles for their podcasts. I help people put on their shows, but it always comes back down to writing stupid songs on the ukulele, usually just with my husband in the house, with my kids. I taught at a Montessori for a while, and I was their music teacher. My syllabus was just every day I'll write a stupid song about whatever we're talking about. So it was like, we're talking about the continents. Great. Here's a silly song about continents and them moving around, or just that improv background. That's just what I like to do. I think you grow up and have your hobbies, and maybe you're this way with writing, where you're like, this is my hobby, this is something I just do, and it's getting in the way of what a grown up would be like and do. It's getting in the way of what my future grown up job would be. And then when you have that day where you realize that thing I've always loved to do since I was a kid is my grown up job is cool.
You know how much I love sharing stories that inspire faith and hope. I'm excited to tell you about my new children's book, Sheep Chronicles Baptism, releasing September 1st. It's about Joshua, a curious boy with big questions about baptism, and the parable of a lost sheep named Shannon, shared by his wise grandpa. It's been such a joy to write this story, and I can't wait for you and your family to read it together.
Writing stupid songs is like the top of my resume, which is really fun. If anybody listening to this needs a stupid song, just Venmo me $20. Whatever you need.
That's awesome. There was another one of your songs I really liked. Near Father's Day, you were playing the piano with your dad, and it
Yes.
looked like you guys were both like improving. You could clearly hear the melody, but it looked
Oh,
like
thanks
you
for
were
sharing
like
that.
playing together, which I thought was so cool. Tell us
Yeah.
about that experience.
My dad's always been a blues jazz pianist, and he's just the best. And he always, anytime he sees a piano, he just stops and he just like wails. One time we went to Disneyland when I was a kid, and there was a piano that wasn't locked up. My dad just went up there and he started playing Cruella de Vil and started slow and then just got wild. He had the crowd of 40 people around. My mom was like, we gotta go, get off the piano. And he's like, see you later. So that's my dad, where he just, music isn't his career, but he's amazing. He'd always be playing when I was a kid, and I'd say, teach me how to play what you're playing. I want to learn how to play jazz piano. And he would say, all you have to do is just listen to it a bunch and then try playing it. And I'm like, wow, my dad's so mean, so withholding. He's not going to teach me. And then I went to college for jazz, and I'm like, oh, I'm finally going to learn. They're like, you just have to listen to it a bunch and play it. It was the same thing. I'm like, oh, no, there's no way out of this. Yeah, it's just listening a bunch, watching my dad playing 8 million wrong notes, and then learning which wrong notes are the right wrong notes. And we just jam. The first time we did one of those songs, it was just, I was visiting my parents, were coming to swim at their pool. And I just sat down, and my mom was like, David, go add some sprinkles on top. And when I was a kid, my dad would be playing and he would say, come put sprinkles on top. So if he was like playing like something to C, I would just hit C, ding, ding, just jam. And that was just like the beginning of it. Now I have my kids do that. So when I'm playing, I'm like, come play this note just over and over again. And they like that it sounds good. So now my dad is putting sprinkles on my music. So we just play together. We're both a little rough at reading music, so it takes us a while to punch out the melody. I was grateful that you said you could hear the melody, because that's the
Yeah.
hardest part for us. We have the same type of humor and the same type of musical taste. So it's really fun to jam with my dad because it feels like jamming with a better version of myself, which is cool.
That's really cool that you guys share that ability and talent together. You also mentioned that you do music when your kids go to bed. Tell me how
Yeah.
you feel like motherhood has inspired your music.
When I was pregnant with my first, I felt like my life was ending. I just knew everything was going to change, and I assumed it was going to change for the worst. I didn't realize it would change for the better. I think people think, yeah, your life is over. Yeah, it changes. All of my friends with kids are miserable. I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm miserable, but I'm also the happiest I've ever been, is both things at once. So I thought my life was going to end. But then once I had my daughter, my first baby, I just felt this motivation to do more things. Not as an escape, but I felt this drive to be doing stuff and creating stuff. And I just wanted to be a force of creativity and joy in my kid's life. And I just wanted to keep doing what I was doing. I also wanted to show girls my age, and because a lot of my friends are in the industry, or they're creative and looking to me as the first one to have kids, like, oh no, is her life going to be over? And I wanted to be a good missionary for motherhood and show you can have the most fun you've ever had. You can do the most projects you've ever done. You can put out the most music you ever have and the best music you ever had while nursing a baby. I would teach piano lessons like nursing. I had really cool adult students like nursing and teaching piano. And I just felt this incredible motivation to do more. Motherhood really lit a flame under me of I have to be doing stuff. And I'm so tired. The only time I can do it is after my kids go to bed, and we're all night owls, so my kids literally go to bed at midnight on a good night. First grade is kicking our butt. She got to school on time today, which is like a
Yes,
miracle.
way to go.
When
Win.
the front office hates me. But that's just the time I could do it because it's music. It has to be an uninterrupted takes a lot of the times. And I have a lot of, I've started to try to do things now because my youngest is 2. So there's, hey, everyone be quiet for 3 minutes because I have to record this right now. But to get 3 minutes of quiet is like impossible. On any of my Instagram songs, if you listen closely with headphones, you can usually hear kids screaming in the back at some point. I don't know. 2 a.m. I had this big project. I was working on this Nutcracker thing a couple years ago. I did not sleep for a year. And it was like the kids would go to bed and I'd be working on this stupid Nutcracker thing for 3 hours. And then I got no sleep. So I had to make these rules with myself. If it's not done by 2 a.m., you're going to bed. And if you can't do that, you have to hire a sitter. And if you can't, if that's not worth it to hire a sitter, then don't take the job. So I had to start making rules for myself because I was miserable. I was losing hair and gaining weight. And I was like, oh gosh, it's hard to be a mom and doing anything besides wiping noses and microwaving chicken nuggets. You can find your groove and find your time, and it's so worth it. Motherhood really motivates me. And I'm making really silly songs. So my kids are the biggest critiques. I know that if I've written something good, they'll start singing it, like in the bath or something. I was really struggling with this song. It was like a jingle, and it was just not catchy. I kept singing it and trying to convince myself that it was good. Then I finally threw it away and I rewrote it. When I wrote the new thing, my daughters were singing it around the house. And so I like, okay, I know that it's catchy. I know that it's good. So they're my little audience.
That's awesome. I feel like what I hear you saying is I think that there is this when idea with motherhood that once you have a baby, you have to surrender yourself totally to motherhood. And I
Yes.
love what you're saying. Keep your talents, develop them, and not necessarily talent is the right word, but that thing like that fills your cup, whether it's like whatever kind of endeavor it is, keep that. But I also hear you saying you did have to create some boundaries because you felt yourself going out of balance and kind of
Yes.
awful. And so you're like, nope, this is what works for me.
Yeah, this is the kind of project I want. I have friends that say, I wish I could write music, but I have the kids. And I'm like, okay, I have the kids too. I'm not saying you're making an excuse. I just think, do you really want to do that? Maybe you haven't found the thing you really want to do. So I have a friend and I really want to do theater. Like, I really want to do one of these regional or one of the community theater things, but I don't have time because this and this. And I'm like, maybe you don't actually want to do that. Or what is the thing you really want out of there? And she found out that she really just wants to sing with her friends. I'm like, you could do that with your kids. Or you could get a sitter for a night and just come to my house and sing. She's doing her first one in a couple of weeks. Everyone's just going to come to my house and we're going to sing like our favorite Broadway tunes. Because that's all she really wants right now is the community. I bring my kids, I have my baby on my hip in the studio. I have my kids with me at rehearsals. And it's not usually, people are not as annoyed by your kids as you think they would be. That's like my advice to any moms that want to do stuff. Get a sitter. It's okay. You're worth it. Or bring them with you. People like children. They're delightful. And if they don't like children, then don't work with them. So just bring your kids with you if you have to. And it's usually totally fine. Like, I'm really grateful that even like the professional settings I've been in, if I've had to bring my kids with me, I work with nice, wonderful people who either have kids themselves or they just understand and they're delighted by my kids. And my kids are pretty delightful, but they're also kids. They're loud and they're messy. I've just been really grateful to find safe spaces and create safe spaces too. Last night I had a rehearsal and my friend, one of the girls was like, I can't get a sitter. I'm like, bring your kids. And the kids just went up and played and we were able to make some music. Moms can do anything.
I also like the idea of bring your kids along, and because they're like you're showing them and modeling, feeling I don't know, like being true to who you are and also figuring out what it is that fills your cup, the thing that you are meant to do. And I love that you're bringing your kids along for that ride. I also feel like that was your upbringing where you were
Yeah.
adding sprinkles to the song and then you're passing that on to your kids. I think that's extraordinary.
Hey, this is how it works. It's not like a cool thing grown-ups do on TV. Creativity is all of us together. And it comes from the like Ward talent show Blood. Everyone's together. We're gonna watch brothers sing this like aria he's worked on for 2 years, and then we're gonna see the three girls down the street do a dance. But it's just like creativity is just a thing for all of us to do. We all have our merit
Yes.
badge in creativity. Luke Johnson is the executive producer for Studio C, and he produced the Benson Boone music video for Mr. Electric Blue. I was listening to him talk about making that video, and his daughter is in it. His daughter has a speaking line in it. I'm like, that's just the best. He's just bringing her along, and I love when people's kids like make their ways into projects and cool. Also, it's just all good. You don't have to have kids to be creative. We couldn't have kids for 6 years after we were married. Timeline, that was a really big deal. So everyone pitied us. We were the childless people in our family for a while, and people would give us a little extra hug on Mother's Day, Father's Day. We've been those people. And I still feel like there's a part of me that is childless. I still feel akin to that. So I never want to leave people out. And I always feel, am I talking about my kids too much?
I like how you said that. And I feel like for me, it took a while to find my husband. A part of me will always feel that loneliness of trying to navigate life without the partner. And so I totally add my voice to yours. It is like all these creative talents aren't like, okay, once you have your spouse, you could do it. Once you
Yeah,
have this amount of kids, then you can be creative. It's like from the moment that you were born, you can be creative.
you have that in you.
Yes.
Very cool.
So tell me about a time that you felt the most amount of self-doubt.
I was doing improv, and we went up to Cedar City for their improv festival. It was not family friendly. I was not in the church at this time. This is like a scuzzy time of my life. It was scuzzy comedy. I was doing it on stage with my friends, having a pretty good time, but not super jazzed about it. And I looked in the audience and I saw this group of like 10 teenagers stand up and leave. And I just, oh, it's just so gut wrenching. Like, I would have never been the teenager that left something. I was the teenager watching R-rated movies and stuff. But it broke my heart to have created a space that, first of all, I didn't know kids were there because the show was like at 10 p.m. I will say it was late. I didn't think kids would be there, and we were not the only non-family friendly thing going on. We were just one of many, but it still broke my heart and trashed me. And I was like, okay, I never want to perform anything ever again because I was really trying to find my place at the time. I'm like, this was the most place I was able to find. I don't feel like I belong anywhere. This is the one place I felt like I belonged, and I don't like belonging here. So I'm just never going to do anything ever again. A couple of years went by. And then I had my baby. And then I was like, okay, I do want to do stuff. That was like just reset me. Okay, that's not it. Like improv comedy isn't it. And being like edgy. Like I don't have the face for edginess. Don't be edgy. You can't be edgy. You're not good at it. So figure out what else it is. But I've been putting out music. I've been putting out music on Spotify. Not really seeing huge returns, but it's just a project for me. This emo music about coming back to church and dealing with thyroid cancer. And I was like hospitalized for a mental health episode for a few weeks. And so there's some songs about that. And they're like really emo, like me just processing journal kind of music. I would look at the numbers, it's just like tank. And I'm like, music will always just be a for me thing. And this is just stuff for me. So it takes the pressure off when I decided I'm just going to put stuff out that feels good for me. Then I put out the donut song and it went viral. I thought no one would like that because it's like a little niche humor. I'm like, this is probably something only I think is funny.
Strengthen or like the
Yeah.
donuts. Yeah, it's really
Yeah. I
funny.
was so shocked that anybody laughed along, let alone like it was like when I finally made the resolution to be alone. I'm just alone. I'm just going to do things that I think are funny. Nobody cares. There will never be an audience. There will never be anybody laughing along. So just do what you want to do. Then it went to a wider audience, and it's kept going. So when I'm writing, I'm like, okay, do I really think this is funny? Is this uniquely something that I think is funny? Or is this something that like ChatGPT would think is funny? Is this what somebody thinks a crowd would think is funny? Or is this what is truly funny to me? Then it usually is funny to other people. You can chase algorithms and try and build your brand. And for a while, I was going to do a sad one woman show about all my emo songs. And it just never got off the ground because I think I just didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to be sad for that long. I just want to be funny and happy and silly. That's why this is taking off, because it's what I actually want to do. Your audience is way smarter than you are, and people can tell when you actually want to be doing what you're doing. I'm grateful for the self-doubt I had because it was justified self-doubt. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, imposter syndrome, is your brain lying to you?" And I like want to take it a step further and be like, "Okay, but maybe you feel like an imposter because you're in a place that you don't want to be. But if you really want to be in that place, then just keep going. Maybe you feel like an imposter in this space because you are not letting your true self be comfortable. Like, where do you actually want to be? Where would you not feel like an imposter? I would feel like an imposter in a Zumba class because that's not where I thrive. I always feel uncomfortable in a Zumba class. I go because my friends teach Zumba, and I feel like such an imposter. No amount of comforting words will make me feel comfortable in a Zumba class. But if I really wanted, if that was my passion, then I wouldn't feel like an imposter because I wouldn't care. That's how I feel about whatever I'm doing. It's like I don't need anyone to tell me I belong because this is just where I want to be, hell or high water.
Okay, so you talked about mental health. How do you feel like faith and creativity work together for healing?
When I was in the hospital, there was they sent a pastor to me that because I like had mentioned that I was religious in the past, and the pastor was like, "You should do music. I feel like you should learn an instrument." And like I had been at this point like hate music, like traumatized by music, like dropped out of school, felt like a loser, felt like nothing I did was enough. I almost kept it secret that I was a musician. It made me really angry that he would tell me, "You should go learn an instrument." Like, how dare you think that someone could just learn an instrument? Music is just a healing gift from God. And he just talked about it. It was just like medicine, like Neosporin. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should do that. And so I went home and I just started playing like the hymn book, or I have the Phantom of the Opera fake book. And I was just like playing through it. And okay, this is Bo. So I was just playing through it and I'm like, wow, music is fun. I got so tangled up in feeling like I needed to earn music or deserve music. I was pushing it away. And I, at the same time, was doing the same thing with my Savior. I was feeling so caught up in, I have to be good enough and I have to earn and deserve this atonement, and realizing that the atonement is paid for. It's like signed, sealed, delivered at the door. Like it's there and you just have to take it. So for me, those things were really in tandem when I started coming back to the church, when I started building my testimony back on Jesus Christ, and coming back to church was the same time I started playing music again. Because I just realized like both these beautiful things are just here. No one's going to put a stamp on your forehead that says you deserved it, because you don't need that stamp and it's never coming. I think we chase after the stamp of approval so much, and it's never coming. Even if it came, if someone came to you, I wonder, Cassidy, if someone came to you and was like, "Hey, the council decided you're good enough," and put the stamp on your forehead, you probably still would not feel enough. Or maybe you would because you're so much more mature than I am.
There with you.
But it's
Thank
like
you for thinking that.
it was so freeing to realize it's just here. It's like the bounty of the earth. Music is fun and sometimes easy. The atonement is here, and you can, like, Christ is at the door. Like, you can just right there, right then, you can feel that peace and that love. So that's how music and faith were really healing for me, because music is such a good visualizer of these spiritual concepts. When I practice music, the first thing I do, like every day, I practice my stinking scales, just like my major scales up and down. And it's the same way every day I like read my scriptures and say my prayers. Like it's just there's the primary answers of music and the primary answers of church. It's just the little stepping stones you got to touch every day. For me, music is such a good visualizer of those spiritual things. And of course, like our greatest healing comes through the atonement of Christ. And Music and art can be great ways for us to access that with our mortality, understand the ununderstandable.
That just is extraordinary. I don't think I've ever heard music referred to as a visualizer because I don't
Oh,
visualize music. So tell me
okay.
about that. What do you see?
Well, there's music has a lot of contention in it. Coming back to our scripture, there's a lot of like dissonance, like notes that don't work well together, that they always resolve. If there's no tension, if there's no dissonance, then it sounds really bad. There's this thing called the whole tone scale, and it's no dissonance. And you would think, oh, the whole tone scale, no dissonance, no minor, so good. And when you play it on the piano, it sounds like an alien. Like it sounds like so creepy. So to me, that's a good visualizer. Life has to have the contrast of good and bad. When we play the major scale, in that there's all this like notes that shouldn't belong together and inconsistencies, and there's minor and there's major, and there's all this dissonance that resolves in the major scale. It just sounds easy breezy. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. That's one way that I visualize we need opposition, pain and pleasure, and all that. Music really nails home. Why does life have to be hard sometimes? It's listen to this piece that has some really dark dissonance and minor in it, and then it resolves into this major, and it's so wonderful, and it's only because you heard the minor parts. Music is so not a visualizer because you don't see it, and it's just in your ears. But that's so funny to me because I feel like it's very visual, like the shapes and the turmoil of it.
That's really cool. I love music. I feel like I'm an appreciator of it, but I think each of us experience it differently. And so, because it's so important to you and you've spent so much time on it, I think it's interesting to hear how you process it. Thank you for sharing. So, what is next for you?
Next for me, I'm just releasing more songs on Instagram. I'll probably keep doing them at least through the year or until I die, whichever one comes first. I do this Thanksgiving musical each year with my husband. We rent a place, it sells out, we break even, and we do it each year. It's a little cult classic in Mesa. We're going to do that again this year. I'm really excited because my husband has an incredible voice. He's like Tom Jones. He's like just this like big brassy voice. So like he's really built for musical theater. We're gonna do our Thanksgiving musical. I have a show this Saturday in Mesa. We're gonna do like some of my Instagram songs, and I'm also like we're doing some games, trying to make it feel like singing time a little bit. When people come in, if they want to participate in the show, they can put their name on a popsicle stick and I'll draw them out of the thing. I have some people who have hired me to write jingles for their shows, and I don't know if I can announce them, but those will be coming soon. That's what's next for me.
That's
Hopefully
awesome.
recording. I brought the Sacrament Bread song to the
Yeah.
studio and
Yeah.
Julia Ray again. I'm excited to see what the reception is like because usually things on social media, the audio isn't very good, the visual isn't very good. I'm going to make it even better. Usually it doesn't do very well, but for me, it's just so fun to go in the studio and make things sound really fun. So I'm excited to put them out there and record a few more. That's what's next for me. And I'm going to
Awesome.
be reading a really cool book in September 1st about a kid that's nervous to get baptized, and his dad tells this awesome story.
I love it. Where can people follow you? Where can we find you? How can we support?
I'm just on Instagram. That's all the social media I can handle. If you want me, you can go on Instagram. I'm there. And just
Yeah.
send me a message and I'll likely look at all of it.
Thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you, Cassie. Thanks.
Thanks so much for spending time with me today. If you're looking for a family-friendly, refreshing drink, check out Soda Bears, my family's premium soda company. And for a faith-filled story to share with the little ones, don't miss Sheep Chronicles Baptism, coming this September. Both are available on Amazon. Until next time, keep creating with purpose and faith.